There's a specific kind of suffering that no one talks about. It doesn't come from trauma or tragedy or external circumstances. It comes from being too aware. And by the end of this, I'm going to tell you about the door you didn't know existed, the one that's been there the whole time. But first, let me describe something you've probably experienced. You're lying in bed at 3 a.m. and your mind is replaying a conversation from 6 years ago. Not because it went badly, but because you just now understood a subtext you missed, a hidden meaning, a pattern beneath the pattern. And now you can't stop thinking about it. You're analyzing why you're analyzing it. You're aware that you're aware. It's recursive, fractal, endless. This is what it means to be an INFJ or INTJ, two of the rarest personality types. And most content will tell you this is a gift, that you're insightful, that you see the future, that you understand people deeply. But they don't tell you about the cost. They don't tell you that the same thing that makes you perceptive is the same thing that traps you in your own head. While other people can have a thought and move on, you have a thought and immediately zoom out. Why did I think that? What does this reveal about me? What am I not seeing? You're doing therapy on yourself 24/7. You're the patient, the therapist, and the person taking notes on both. And the cruelest part? This constant self-analysis doesn't free you. It makes the cage smaller. Someone on Reddit once described it perfectly. I don't have thoughts. I have theories about my thoughts, and then theories about those theories, and then existential crises about whether any of it means anything. You've done this. I know you have. You've spent 2 hours analyzing why you felt slightly uncomfortable during a 5-second interaction. You've built elaborate frameworks to understand a fleeting emotion. You've mapped your own behavioral patterns like you're studying a foreign species. And you can't help it. It's not a choice. It's just how your brain works. Here's where it splits into two different kinds of hell. If you're an INFJ, you don't just feel your own emotions. You absorb everyone else's. You walk into a room and immediately sense the microtensions, the unspoken dynamics, the emotional undercurrents. You know what someone needs before they do. And then you feel responsible for it. Someone in a forum once wrote, "I can predict how my words will affect someone 3 moves ahead in the conversation. So every sentence I speak is a chess game where I'm trying to avoid causing harm. Eventually, I just stop speaking." That's not connection. That's hypervigilance pretending to be empathy. If you're an INTJ, you have a different problem. You can see the ideal version of everything with crystalline clarity. The perfect system, the optimal solution, the most logical outcome. And reality never matches it. Your own execution never matches it. You're not a perfectionist because you enjoy perfection. You're a perfectionist because you can see the gap between what is and what could be. And that gap haunts you every single day. So you don't start projects because you've already mapped out the 47 ways they could fail. You don't share ideas because you've already played out the conversation where people misunderstand you. You're paralyzed not by fear of failure, but by seeing too clearly how things will fall short. And both types share this strange exhaustion. You've lived every possibility in your mind already. You've already played out the relationship, already saw how the project would fail, already experienced the disappointment before anything even happened. Carl Jung, the psychologist who developed a lot of these ideas, talked about the suffering that comes from unlived life. But for people like us, it's different. It's the suffering of overlived life. You're exhausted from experiences you never actually had, and people wonder why you seem tired. Then there's the loneliness, not the kind where you're alone, the kind where you're surrounded by people and feel completely invisible. Because what you're hungry for isn't presence, it's depth, and depth is rare. You've had that experience, haven't you? Someone asks how you're doing, and you pause, because the real answer would take 45 minutes and 3 philosophical tangents. So you say fine and die a little inside. You sit in conversations about weekend plans and weather and gossip, and you're screaming internally because you want to discuss the existential implications of their career choice or the unconscious family patterns they're repeating. But you can't, because that would be too intense or too much. Jung said something that captures this perfectly. Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself. That's it. That's exactly it. You're fluent in a language nobody else speaks, and after years of translating yourself into simpler terms, dimming your intensity, pretending you don't notice the things you notice, something breaks. This is what people call the door slam. Everyone talks about it like it's some dramatic cutting off of toxic people, but nobody mentions the grief underneath. The door slam isn't anger, it's exhaustion. It's what happens when you finally realize that this watered-down version of yourself isn't real, and continuing to perform it feels like betrayal. So you retreat, not to punish anyone, but to stop betraying yourself. And here's where it gets really twisted. You're aware of your patterns. Most people live blissfully unaware of why they do what they do. You've documented it. You've named it. You've traced it back to childhood incidents you barely remember. You know that when you're stressed, you'll spiral into binge eating, or obsessive cleaning, or scrolling for 6 hours. You can feel it building days in advance, and yet you still can't stop it. You know that certain types of criticism will trigger a disproportionate emotional response. You've analyzed it, journaled about it, understood it completely, and still it owns you. This creates a special kind of hell, being both the prisoner and the guard. You understand the cage better than anyone, but understanding doesn't unlock it. In fact, there's something that gets discussed in the darker corners of the internet. What happens when you do so much self-analysis that you become afraid of your own authenticity? You've deconstructed yourself so thoroughly that you don't know which impulses to trust anymore. Is this desire genuine or a defense mechanism? Is this boundary healthy, or am I just being avoidant? Is this insight wisdom, or am I just overthinking? You've dug through so many layers that you've lost track of which one is actually you. Jung warned about this. He said the goal of becoming whole isn't to achieve perfect self-awareness. But people like us confuse the two. We think if we just understand ourselves deeply enough, we'll be free. We think consciousness is the solution. But you can't think your way out of a prison made of thoughts. That's like trying to use the bars of your cage to unlock the door. The tool and the trap are the same thing. So you're stuck. Aware of the prison. Aware that you built it. Aware that you're aware. And the awareness just adds another layer to the maze. You've read the books, done the therapy, taken the personality tests, journaled until your hand cramped. You understand yourself better than most therapists could ever understand you. And somehow you're still here. Still trapped. Still exhausted from the weight of your own consciousness. And this is what nobody in the personality community talks about. They tell you about your strengths, your insights, your strategic mind or your empathetic heart. They don't tell you about the nights where you wish you could just turn your brain off. They don't tell you about the profound exhaustion of seeing too much, feeling too much, understanding too much. They don't tell you that your gift often feels like a curse. I've been describing this prison for 10 minutes now, walking you through every corridor, every trap, every recursive loop, and you're probably wondering, is there a way out? Is this just it forever? Here's what I promise to tell you. Jung had this idea about holding the tension of opposites. It sounds complicated, but it's actually simple. It means not trying to resolve every contradiction in your life. Not trying to think your way out of every problem. Just staying present with the discomfort. And for you, this means something radical. Accepting that your mind will always do this. The constant analysis. the pattern recognition, the depth seeking. This isn't a bug to fix. It's how you're built. The prison isn't the problem. Fighting the prison is the problem. The door I mentioned at the beginning, it's not an escape route. It's a perspective shift. The prison is only a prison if you're trying to escape it. But what if you stopped fighting it? What if you accepted this maze as your unique way of being in the world? What if, instead of trying to think less, feel less, analyze less, you just let it be what it is? You don't have to choose between depth and living in the moment. You can think deeply and let some moments just be. You can analyze patterns and accept that not everything needs to mean something. The goal isn't to escape your mind. It's to stop being at war with it. To walk through it with curiosity instead of dread. To accept that yes, you see too much, feel too much, think too much, and that this is just your way of experiencing the world. And here's the part that might actually help. Find your people. Not more people, the right people. There are others who speak your language, who get excited about 3 a.m. philosophical tangents, who don't think you're too much because they're too much too. They're rare, yes. INFJs and INTJs make up less than 5% of the population, but they exist. And when you find them, you'll realize something profound. The door was never locked. You just needed someone to show you it was there. Your mind will always be a maze. That's not changing. But mazes aren't just prisons. They're also sacred spaces. Places where transformation happens. Mysteries that reveal something profound to those willing to walk them. The monster at the center isn't something to defeat. It's a part of yourself to accept. Maybe you're not broken. Maybe you're just built for a different kind of life. One that most people will never understand. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what the world needs. Someone willing to go deep, to see what others miss, to hold the complexity that others can't bear. The prison becomes a home when you stop trying to escape it. The cage becomes a sanctuary when you realize you've had the key the whole time. That key, it's not more awareness. It's not deeper understanding. It's acceptance. It's the radical act of letting yourself be exactly what you are. Endlessly self-aware, constantly analytical, beautifully complex. You're not too much. You're just enough. In all your labyrinthine glory.